Ladies and gentlemen, friends, brothers and sisters, today I want to speak to your heart, not just your mind, not just your ears, but your soul, because we are living in a world that is moving faster than it ever has before. We are rushing, we are running, we are striving, we are pushing ourselves to the limits, chasing success, chasing meaning, chasing approval, sometimes chasing things that were never meant to be ours. And in all this motion, all this noise, we are losing something sacred. We are losing the stillness that gives us strength. We are losing the calm that sharpens us. We are losing the peace that helps us see clearly. But hear me today. The calmer you are, the sharper you become. The clearer you think. It is not weakness to be still. It is not laziness to be calm. There is a kind of strength that only comes from still waters. There is a kind of clarity that only comes when the storm has passed and the winds have ceased. You don't sharpen a blade in the middle of a whirlwind. You sharpen it in a quiet place, with focused hands, with purpose and patience. And you, your mind, your spirit, you are the blade, and life with all its trials, its pressure, its stress, its confusion, it will dull you if you let it. But when you step back, when you breathe, when you pause and listen, not just to the world, but to the still small voice within, you begin to sharpen again, you begin to see again, and oh, how powerful that clarity can be. Some of us are trying to make life, faltering decisions in the middle of emotional hurricanes. We're trying to find direction when our hearts are overwhelmed. But when a lake is stormy, you can't see the bottom. When the waters are calm, the vision becomes clear. And in the same way, your mind cannot guide you rightly when it is stirred by fear, by anger, by anxiety. You must learn to calm the waters within. There is a peace that passes understanding, not a peace that the world gives, but one that fills your soul even when the world is shaking around you. That peace comes when you release control, when you trust that you don't have to have all the answers, when you believe that there is a greater plan, a greater hand holding you up when you can no longer stand. Too many are mistaking noise for momentum. They think if they're busy, they must be progressing. But friend, you can be running fast in the wrong direction. You can be building a ladder against the wrong wall. It's not about doing more. It's about becoming more centered, more grounded, more aware. And you cannot become more until you are willing to be still. Stillness is not silence. It's alignment. It's standing firm in who you are, whose you are, and why you're here. It's listening to what truly matters. It's allowing your thoughts to settle like dust in the air, so the truth can shine through. Think of the greatest moments of revelation in history. They didn't come through shouting. They came through quiet reflection, through solitude, through moments of divine inspiration, and in your life too. The breakthrough may not come through force, but through surrender, through peace, through calm. I've seen people break under pressure. I've seen hearts give out from stress. I've seen minds collapse under the weight of too many responsibilities, too many expectations, too much noise. And I've seen others, people with less talent, less opportunity, less privilege, rise higher because they learned how to master themselves. They learned how to anchor their soul when the tides of life tried to sweep them away. There is no wisdom in panic. There is no vision in chaos. There is no strength in fear. But oh, there is power in calm, power in restraint, power in knowing when to speak and when to be silent, when to act and when to wait. The calmer you are, the sharper you become. You begin to see through the fog. You begin to hear truth in the quiet. You begin to make decisions not out of fear, but out of purpose. Now, I'm not saying the world will make it easy. No, it won't. The world will pull at you, shout at you, tempt you, distract you. It will try to convince you that if you're not anxious, you're not paying attention. That if you're not worried, you must not care, but don't listen. Don't buy into that lie, because your calm is not a weakness, it's a weapon. It's how you fight back against the chaos. It's how you take back your power. When others are running in circles, you will stand firm. When others are overwhelmed, you will be steady. When others are reactive, you will respond with wisdom. Why? Because you took the time to be still. You took the time to breathe, you took the time to listen, and that stillness gave you vision, that calm gave you power, that peace gave you a voice. So I ask you, what are you rushing for? What are you afraid will happen if you slow down? What are you trying to prove by running yourself ragged? Stop, breathe, refocus. There is more strength in your stillness than in your striving. There is more direction in your calm than in your chaos. The calmer you are, the sharper you become, the clearer you think. I'll leave you with this. A calm spirit doesn't just change your day, it changes your destiny. A calm mind doesn't just help you think, it helps you see the path that was always there, waiting for you to walk it. The storm will come, but peace isn't the absence of the storm, it's the presence of clarity in the midst of it. Be still, be calm, and you will become everything you were created to be. Amen. Clarity comes when emotions are calm and thoughts are centered. This truth is often overlooked in a world that glorifies hustle, urgency, and constant reaction. But clarity, the ability to see the path ahead, to make wise decisions, to discern truth from noise, does not arise from a frantic heart or a cluttered mind. It emerges from calm, from the ability to pause, to quiet the racing thoughts, to settle the emotional storms that cloud our vision. When emotions are running high, when anger burns, when fear grips, when anxiety surges, our mental clarity is compromised. We see not what is, but what we fear might be. We act not out of wisdom, but out of survival. The mind, when hijacked by intense emotion, becomes a poor navigator. It focuses on immediate relief, not long-term wisdom. Decisions made in such a state often lead to regret, because they are not born out of clarity, but out of reaction. But when you take the time to calm the storm inside, something powerful begins to happen. Your breath slows, your mind stops racing, your thoughts begin to organize themselves like stars emerging in the night sky. You start to hear your own inner voice, the voice of reason, of wisdom, of truth that gets drowned out in emotional chaos. This voice doesn't shout, it whispers, and you can only hear it when you're quiet enough to listen. Centering your thoughts does not mean ignoring your emotions. It means acknowledging them, feeling them, and then gently placing them aside so you can think clearly. It's like clearing a foggy window to see what's really on the other side. This calm presence of mind allows you to weigh your options without distortion. It allows you to respond, not react. It puts you back in control. In moments of crisis, it's not the loudest person who brings direction. It's the calmest, and in your own life, you become your best guide when you are still, when you allow the emotional dust to settle. That's when solutions present themselves. That's when opportunities you couldn't see before begin to shine through. That's when you begin to understand what truly matters and what is just noise. Clarity isn't forced. It's revealed. And it's revealed when the soul is at peace and the mind is steady. The more you practice calming your emotions and centering your thoughts, the more access you have to that deeper wisdom. It's always been there, buried beneath the noise, the fear, the pressure. All it needs is space. All it needs is calm. Clarity comes when emotions are calm and thoughts are centered. This is a principle as old as time itself, yet we often overlook it in our modern pace of life. We rush from one thing to the next, reacting quickly, speaking hastily, deciding impulsively, and all the while wondering why we feel lost or confused. But clarity is not found in movement alone. It is born in the moments when we slow down and bring stillness to the chaos inside us. When our emotions are stirred, when we are anxious, frustrated, angry, or afraid, our perception becomes distorted. The mind, under emotional pressure, exaggerates threats, diminishes possibilities, and amplifies doubt. In this state, we are more likely to misread people, misunderstand situations, and make choices that don't align with our values or our vision. Emotion is powerful. It can be a force for insight, but it can also cloud judgment when left unchecked. Like stormy waters, a turbulent emotional state prevents us from seeing clearly beneath the surface, but when you calm those emotions, when you choose to pause rather than react, something changes, the storm settles. The water clears, you begin to see what was there all along. Answers that seemed hidden begin to appear. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. This is not because the situation changed. It's because you changed your internal state. You took back control of your focus and attention. You gave your thoughts space to breathe. Centering your thoughts means anchoring yourself in the present moment. It means stepping away from mental noise and grounding yourself in truth. It's a deliberate act of pulling your mind out of the what-ifs and the should-haves and bringing it into the now. In that space, your mind becomes like a compass pointing true north. You can evaluate a decision not based on fear, but based on wisdom. You can listen, not just to others, but to the deeper knowing within you. In this state, your mind stops being a battlefield and becomes a place of clarity. You begin to understand what matters and what doesn't. You recognize the difference between urgent and important. You see people and problems for what they truly are, not what your emotions might have projected onto them. And most importantly, you begin to remember your purpose. You cannot rush clarity. You cannot force it to arrive when your heart is in turmoil. But you can create the conditions for it to come, and that begins by calming your emotions and centering your thoughts. That is where your true insight lies, not in the noise, but in the quiet that follows when you choose peace over panic and presence over distraction. Calmness is not weakness, it's controlled power. In a society that often praises loud voices, quick reactions, and aggressive action, calmness can be misunderstood. It can be mistaken for passivity, for lack of passion, or even for indecision. But nothing could be further from the truth. Calmness is not about stepping back from life, it's about stepping into it with purpose, clarity, and strength that is rooted deep within. It is not the absence of power, it is the mastery of it. The person who remains calm under pressure is not disengaged. They are in control. When chaos erupts, it's easy to lose composure, to lash out, to get swept away by the urgency of the moment. But it takes strength, real, disciplined inner strength, to stay centered when everything around you is falling apart. Calmness is what allows you to hold your ground when others are losing theirs. It allows you to respond instead of react, to speak with wisdom rather than with fear or frustration. Power that is loud, impulsive, and uncontrolled may make a strong impression, but it rarely brings lasting impact. On the other hand, calm power, the kind that is steady, thoughtful, and intentional, moves mountains without making a sound. Think of the strongest leaders, the most trusted voices, the wisest counselors. Their strength doesn't lie in how loudly they speak, but in the calm authority they carry. Their words carry weight because they aren't thrown out carelessly. They are measured, considered, and born from a place of deep self-control. Calmness gives you the ability to see clearly in the fog of stress or conflict. When emotions are running high, the calm individual becomes a stabilizing force. They become the anchor for those around them. Instead of amplifying the noise, they bring peace into the room, and in doing so, they gain influence, not by dominating, but by being dependable. People listen to the calm voice in the storm, not because it demands attention, but because it earns trust. It also allows for greater endurance. The one who burns hot and fast may flash for a moment, but the one who burns slow and steady will go the distance. Calmness preserves energy. It avoids the waste that comes from emotional outbursts, hasty decisions, and constant conflict. It creates space for growth, for reflection, and for wise action. True power doesn't always need to announce itself. It doesn't need to prove anything. It simply is. Calmness reflects that kind of quiet confidence, the kind that knows where it's going and doesn't need to rush. It is a sign not of hesitation, but of deep conviction. The calm person isn't less passionate. They are just more focused. They've learned that their power is most effective when it's not scattered, but channeled. When it's not forced, but released at the right time in the right way. That is not weakness. That is mastery. Inner peace allows you to navigate outer chaos. Life will never run out of reasons to overwhelm you. The world around you is full of unpredictability, pressures at work, conflict in relationships, shifting circumstances, unexpected losses, and constant demands. You cannot control the storm outside, but you can learn to carry peace within. That peace becomes your compass when the winds start to howl and the waves begin to rise. It steadies you when everything around you tries to shake you loose. Inner peace is not denial of chaos. It is resistance to its control. It doesn't mean you don't feel pain or fear or stress. It means you don't allow those things to own you. It is a quiet confidence, an anchored soul that says, I will not be moved. Not because everything is perfect, but because you have chosen a different posture. You've chosen peace, not as a result of what happens, but as a response rooted in something deeper. When you live from a place of inner peace, your decisions become clearer. You're not led by panic or driven by the need to fix everything instantly. You can see more than just the immediate problem. You can look at the bigger picture. You gain the ability to rise above the situation instead of being buried under it. Chaos tries to pull you in with urgency, but peace gives you permission to slow down, to step back, and to approach challenges with wisdom and discernment. It also influences the people around you. Peace is contagious. When others are anxious, angry, or unsure, your calm presence can change the atmosphere. You become a refuge not because you have all the answers, but because you aren't rattled by the unknown. People trust someone who is grounded. They listen to the one who doesn't react out of fear, but responds with conviction. In a world that moves fast and burns bright, the person who walks with peace becomes a light that doesn't flicker under pressure. Peace gives you strength to endure. When your heart is at rest, you are not as easily discouraged. You are not running on empty trying to meet every demand. You move with grace, even when the path is steep. You don't fight every battle. You learn which ones matter. You don't speak out of impulse. You wait until your words are guided by truth, and in doing so, you conserve energy, protect your focus, and guard your purpose. Finding that peace is not always easy. It requires practice, intention, and often silence. It means turning down the volume of everything else so you can hear what really matters. It means choosing stillness even when your surroundings are anything but still. But once you find that peace and make it your foundation, the chaos outside no longer dictates who you are or how you live. You become unshakable, not because life is easy, but because your spirit is rooted, settled, and strong. True wisdom rises from a quiet, focused spirit. Wisdom is not the loudest voice in the room, nor is it the one that moves the fastest. It is born from stillness, from a mind that is not pulled in every direction, from a heart that listens more than it speaks. In a world full of noise, where opinions are shouted and quick answers are celebrated, wisdom often gets overlooked. But it is in the quiet places, in the spaces between noise, where real understanding begins to grow. A focused spirit is one that has learned the art of attention. It knows how to tune out distractions, how to stay centered when the world demands multitasking and constant stimulation. It is in that focus that wisdom begins to take shape. Because wisdom is not just about knowing facts or quoting principles. It's about seeing deeply into situations, understanding motives, recognizing timing, and sensing the difference between what is urgent and what is truly important. When the mind is quiet and the spirit is at rest, the deeper truths of life become more visible. You're able to discern what is real and what is illusion. You become more aware of your own intentions, more honest with yourself, and more compassionate toward others. A quiet spirit listens, not just to people, but to life itself. It picks up on things that are easily missed in the rush. It senses the weight of words, the tone behind a statement, the unspoken things that float beneath the surface. This kind of spirit doesn't rush to judgment. It takes time to reflect, to observe, to process before it speaks or acts. That patience is what makes wisdom so powerful, because wise decisions are rarely made in haste. They require space. Space to think clearly, to evaluate rightly, and to act with confidence. A quiet, focused spirit creates that space, even in the middle of chaos. It's like the eye of the storm, calm, centered, unaffected by the whirlwind around it. Wisdom also knows when to speak and when to remain silent. It isn't driven by the need to prove something. It doesn't seek attention or applause. It speaks when necessary, and when it does, its words carry weight. People listen, not because the voice is loud, but because it is rooted in truth. That is the power of a quiet, focused spirit. It doesn't seek to dominate, but it changes the room nonetheless. In moments of conflict, this spirit brings peace. In times of uncertainty, it brings guidance. In seasons of decision, it brings clarity. It is not born from fear or insecurity, but from trust. Trust in something deeper than the moment, something greater than yourself. A quiet spirit is not empty, it is full of insight. It doesn't speak constantly because it doesn't need to. It knows that true wisdom doesn't shout, it resonates, it draws others in, and it endures. In the end, everything we've spoken about leads to one undeniable truth. Your inner world determines how you experience the outer one. The calmer you are, the sharper you become, the clearer you think. This is not just a phrase or a motivational idea. It is a principle that can shape your life, your relationships, your decisions, and your future. You cannot always control what happens around you, but you can learn to master what happens within you. That mastery begins with calm, that calm gives birth to clarity, and clarity paves the road for wisdom, peace, and purpose. Many chase after strength by trying to control circumstances, people, and outcomes. But real strength begins with self-control. It begins with quieting your spirit in the midst of noise. It begins with learning to pause before reacting, to breathe before deciding, to listen before speaking. That stillness isn't inactivity. It is intention. It is power under control. It's the kind of strength that holds steady when others shake, that sees clearly when others are confused, that walks forward with confidence even when the path is uncertain. This is the kind of life you are meant to live, not one driven by stress, pressure, and constant striving, but one marked by depth, direction, and peace. When your inner life is settled, the storms outside don't unseat you as easily. You may still face challenges. You may still be misunderstood or opposed, but you won't be reactive. You won't be tossed by every wave. You'll know who you are, what matters, and what your next step needs to be. This way of living is not reserved for a few. It is possible for anyone willing to slow down, to listen, to build from the inside out. You don't need perfect circumstances to cultivate calm. In fact, the greatest calm often emerges in the face of pressure. It's forged in the fire of life's difficulties. The more you practice it, the more it becomes part of you. Not something you have to reach for, but something that flows from within. And when you begin to live this way, something amazing happens. You start to make better decisions, not just for yourself, but for those around you. You start to speak with more wisdom and act with more grace. You become a person of influence, not because you seek power, but because others can feel your peace. They trust it, they're drawn to it. In a world of chaos, a calm and clear spirit becomes a guiding light. So take the time to cultivate that calm, guard it, protect it. Don't let the noise of the world steal your stillness. Don't let pressure rush your purpose. There is clarity waiting for you on the other side of calm. There is wisdom ready to rise in the quiet spaces of your soul. And there is a life of peace and purpose available to you. Not someday, but today. Choose that life, live from that center, and watch everything else begin to change.